Alright everybody, this is Eternal Blade here and welcome to a new tutorial on how to model a photorealistic doorway for architectural visualization. So this is what you're viewing straight out of the renderer. I just saved it as an image. You can see we'll create the molding for the door, the entire door, the panels, as well as the doorknob here. We'll also set up the simple scene as well as the associated lighting, camera, and render elements. It should be a pretty quick tutorial, I hope. There are really only three basic materials just for the wall, the door, the molding, and the doorknob here. So this can be used in conjunction with the blinds tutorial as well as the ceiling fan tutorial, which you can check out on my channel. And you put them together and you pretty much have the major elements of a room minus the furniture. If you want to pick up this scene file, you can check it out at gumroad.com/eternalblade. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to my Facebook page as well as YouTube. So, without further ado, let's begin. So let's begin by setting up our scene. The first thing we want to do is go to Customize, then go to your Unit Setup. Make sure you're set to metric and centimeters, and ensure your unit setup is 1 unit equals a centimeter. Okay? The next thing we want to do is go to our render settings here, and just ensure that we're using the V-Ray Advanced plugin. We can go to the GI, Enable Global Illumination, Irradiance Map, Light Cache, and just put this to low and to 200 for now, and ensure that Show Calculation Phase has been checked. Make sure you are using the built-in frame buffer here, and ensure that your dynamic memory limit is set to 1 GB below your maximum. So I'm going to do 31,000 for mine. Okay, also go to your output size here, change it to HD, and for now we'll go 480 by 270. But for the final render, we'll bump that up to 1920 by 1080. Another option that we need to correct is your image sampler. Change that to adaptive subdivision. And for our filter, we can probably use Miniature Netrivali. Alright, and I believe that should be all we need for now. So let's close out of that. Now, for our scene setup, we actually have 3 main reference images. We have, let's see, apparently that didn't work. We've got a door, some pictures of molding that we can choose from, as well as a spline reference that I created earlier, just to help us with our spline we'll be creating for the door panels, because that can be a bit tricky and takes some work. So the first thing we're going to do here is use this spline reference. You can just go to File Info and see it's 550 by 273. Let's make a plane here, and we'll make it 550 by 273. Okay, and actually let's change that around so it'll be 273 by 550. Perfect. Now just press M on your keyboard. That'll bring up the material editor. We can just drag in a V-Ray material. It can be a regular material, diffuse map, standard, bitmap, and let's navigate over to our files here, references, and let's get that spline path up. Double click on the bitmap and click this Show Shaded Material in Viewport, and then just drag and drop it over here. Okay, perfect. The next thing we'll need is to get the door. So we're going to open up the door here, right click, File Info, and if you can't find that, you just go to your properties. That's 1000 by 1000. So let's make another plane here, just in the front viewport, and this one will be 1000 by 1000. All right, and we're going to repeat the same process where we create a material. So just choose a V-Ray material, diffuse map, standard, bitmap, click your door image, double click the bitmap, and click the Show Shaded Material in Viewport option, and simply drag and drop it onto your plane there. So now we have these 2 separate things here. Now, I know that a standard door is about 204 centimeters tall. So we're actually going to show the shaded material here. Press G to get rid of the grid and make a box. Okay? And for the length, oops, sorry, we're going to change this to 204. All right, and this will be the height that this door needs to be. So we can grab this and just scale it down. Okay, up until it matches this object here. Press Alt-W to maximize the viewport. It can make your life a little bit easier. Let's maybe scale it up just a bit. And that should be close enough, okay? So we can go ahead and delete that plane now. Now we're going to leave this at this scale for now, but eventually it'll be this little size over here. So what we're going to do here is go into our shapes parameter, make a rectangle, and just draw a rectangle right around there. All right, that's all you need for now. And now let's make another line here, and let's model this spline out right here. So what we need to do is simply just click all of these points, and we'll do one right in the middle, there, middle, there. Okay, and we're going to come up, over, do one in the middle, top, and over, just like that. All right, now what we can do here is press 1 on the keyboard to access our vertices here. And we're just going to use this fillet tool, the fillet tool. I'm just going to soften these edges right up here. Okay? And then do the same over here. Now what we can do is right click, and we're just going to go ahead and weld these vertices here together. You can fuse them and weld if they're too far apart. So fuse and weld. Let's grab over here, fuse and weld, and do it twice more just to ensure that our door is perfect. Okay? Now you'll see that they're not quite following the curve, so we can come in here, and these should be Bezier corners, so we can just grab these handles and position them as we see fit. You can grab them from both sides, and in fact you can really make whatever shape you want here. It doesn't have to be the exact one I'm making. So if you find a better design you like, it would be perfectly acceptable to use that. So we're just going to go in here and clean this up just a little bit. Alright, that should be perfect. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and delete this plane we were working off of. Now with our spline selected, let's come over here and let's just scale it down quite a bit. Okay, we need it to be at approximately the same size as this. So where the edge is flat on the flat part and also flat on that part. Now grabbing our rectangle here, what we need to do is add a sweep modifier. Okay? And then we're going to use custom selection and pick this little area right here. And now I'm getting something odd. I know what it was. Well, the X form wasn't quite right here. But I think if we, let's see here, sweep parameters. Let's get rid of smooth selection there. And that's what we want. It's just not exactly in the right orientation. Let's mirror that here. Trying to figure out which way is which. So I think it's inside out. Also, I'm not quite sure why it's so big. All right, let's figure this out here. So we want to it should come. See, this should be the outside. I think it's flipped around. So let me just grab that bit there, press E, and if I rotate it, it shouldn't do anything. So let's actually get rid of the sweep modifier real quick. So we'll delete that. Let's come here to our little shape, and we're just going to go ahead and reset the X form. Press reset, selected on it. All right, and we can convert that to an editable spline. All right, and then now let's try that again. So let's go find the sweep modifier. All right, and custom selection pick, and we're going to pick that, and it didn't really like that too much, did it? I'm going to hide this for a second here. We're going to try to see what exactly it's doing. Okay, so now that we have the spline created here, let's go ahead and click on our rectangle here and make sure that we have the spline aligned. So make sure that it's kind of making an X with the rectangle here. I may not have shown the step, I had to play around with it a little bit before I could figure it out. But you want it in the left viewport to look exactly like this, and in the top viewport to just be a line. So go ahead and grab your rectangle and use the sweep tool here. Use custom selection and just go ahead and pick our mesh right here. All right, now you'll have basically the outer frame of one of these units. All right, in your sweep parameters, just make sure that we have smooth selection and smooth path turned off. All right, so now let's go ahead and convert that to an editable poly. And we can actually delete that now. And we're going to unhide all. All right, so now what we need to do is scale this down so that way it fits our scene. So just go ahead and scale that way down, and it should fit just perfectly inside of here, or at least really, really close. All right, now what we need to do is simply go to your, let's just drag it out just a little bit so we can see it a bit better. Okay, so now what we can do is go here into the border mode, click, and we can just go ahead and cap that off for now, okay? That'll give us the actual, border in the middle there. Let's change this to shaded. So in our vertex view here, let's just go ahead and align all these just to where they match the image. All right, just like that. Perfect. So now we've got sort of one of our panels done. Now what we need to do is we're going to use some symmetry modifiers here. So let's convert this into an editable poly. Okay? And we're going to grab, let's see, what do we clicked on? I think we need to run the wrong thing. So convert that to an editable poly. And grab this edge and let's just shift drag it to where it's sort of right in the middle there. Okay? Just like that. And grab these top two and shift drag them up just so they're sort of right in the door frame there. And grab this one as well, and we can shift drag it out to where it fills up that section. Okay? And maybe a little bit less. And that should be about good. Alright, now press F4 to get your edge view here. Let's grab these 5 edges, and we're going to give them, we're going to extrude them back, and we're going to do it about 1.75 centimeters, so minus 1.75. Okay, maybe not. Maybe we'll just do it, oh, we forgot to scale this, okay. So we'll just do it approximately there. We'll get the scale right at the end. So now what we want to do is use the symmetry modifier. So symmetry modifier, place it on the stack there. And let's go ahead and edit this mirror. So we have to flip it. And then we can just go ahead and place it right there. That way the vertices weld together. So now we've got 2 panels to our door. All right, so let's, do we want to convert that to an editable poly? Probably not yet. So let's actually go ahead and delete that modifier. And let's go to polygons. All right, and let's grab sort of all these ones right here. All right, we're going to shift drag these down a little bit, and we can clone it to an element. Let's go ahead and adjust this in the front view so where it fits our other thing, just like that. All right, and we can just grab that element there, and we're going to shift drag it down again to match this element. Right, and adjust the vertices as necessary, just like that. And now let's go ahead and work to merge all these things together. So we can go ahead and click here, as well as here, and go ahead and bridge those. All right, and do the same for the bottom two. Excellent, and come here, and we're just going to shift drag those down a little bit. We'll adjust it here in a second. And now let's grab all four of these sides. All right, now we're going to shift drag it, sorry, we forgot one up here. We're going to go ahead and just shift drag it over, just like that. Press 1 on the keyboard, and let's select all of the things on the side here. Press R, and we're just going to scale it in just to make them nice and even, okay? And then, if we press 1, I think these should be separate, and they are. So what we need to do is just go to Target Weld, click, and Target Weld it. That'll flesh it out. All right, now with those same edges selected, we can just go ahead and let's actually do this all at once. We're gonna delete, delete, and delete, delete, delete. So just grab all of these edge loops here. Okay, so we should have all of them, including the bottom, and go ahead and extrude them back just a bit. Perfect. Now we can begin our symmetry modifier. So get your symmetry modifier out, flip it on the x-axis, and press 1 on the keyboard to access your gizmo. Let's go ahead and just drag that over. All right, that should do good. Now what we can do is apply another symmetry modifier, and this one will be used for the back of the door. So we can go ahead and delete our reference image for now. Actually, we won't. Yes, we can delete it. Okay. So this one will be on the z-axis, I believe. Press 1. Let's just drag it out, so you'll see we're kind of having a front and a back. And let's just close the gap here, just like that. Perfect. There we go. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and Control-Alt-Q or convert to editable poly, and we basically have a perfect door here. Now let's make sure that it's the correct size. So let's make our box again. All right, let's give it the correct parameters. So the length is going to be 204 centimeters tall. The width is going to be 92 centimeters. And the height is basically going to be 3.5 centimeters. So that's the appropriate dimensions of a door there. So grabbing ours, let's go ahead and just put it right on here. All right, so you can see that we're a bit off, but it's not really a problem. We can just go ahead and grab our edges here. Okay, press R, and we can simply scale them out to where they match. And it looks like height-wise we're doing pretty good. I don't think we need to make any changes there height-wise. We're pretty close. All right, so there we go. So let's go ahead and delete our box. I'm sort of a fan of maybe a little bit bigger doors. So I think I want to, or thicker I should say. So I think what I'm going to do is simply grab these and drag them out just to get a bit thicker, and on this side as well. Just because I'm more of a fan of that kind of door. So we can go ahead and delete this half right here and just apply another symmetry modifier. On the X, flip it, and just drag it back out. Oops. By pressing 1 on the keyboard. Alright, there we go. Perfect. Alright, so that is basically our door. And again, you can change these designs to anything you like. Like for example, oops, sorry. Let's do an edit poly modifier here. Symmetry, convert to edit poly. Press 1. Alright, let's go to the front view here. I actually think I want to increase the height of these ones here just a bit. And maybe decrease the height here. Alright, just get a design you feel comfortable with. Alright, so I'm going to say that's pretty good for that. So now what we can do is move on to the door frame. So to begin here, let's first make this gray. And then we're going to want to add a simple plane here on the bottom, just to give us a little bit of sort of geometry to work with. Let's go ahead also and just drag this over just to sort of center it in our scene, just to clean things up a bit. Alright, perfect. And we can also bring the door up, that way it's sort of a little bit above the ground plane. Now the first thing we want to do here is make a box, and we can turn auto grid on, and let's just drag it like this, okay? And then convert that box to an editable poly. So grab these top vertices here and just sort of drag them, a little bit above the door there. And you can drag them all the way to the ground is fine. And also, let's drag them out to where we sort of have a little bit of a space on either side of the door frame. So something like this. Now select both the front and the back polygons here. Let's inset them a bit, and now we can bridge them. Okay, so we created a space there. Now using our edit poly, let's just match this space up with our door. So it can be a little bit off. It is not going to be perfect. The door does actually have to close after all. Alright, and let's grab these and move them off to the side a little bit. And finally, let's grab the last side here and move them off to the side. Just like that. Now for these bottom polygons, we can actually just go ahead and delete these. Select all the bottom vertices and come over here and just align them to the z-axis. That'll just flatten them all out. And we can drag them straight back down to the floor here. Just like that. Okay, so let's go back to our perspective here. And you'll find that if we hide this, we're actually missing polygons at the bottom here. So we can go ahead in the border here and just press cap. I mean, yes, technically we won't see them, but it's still good. Now we can unhide all again. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and fix it width-wise. So let's just bring this out. So this should sort of line up right about to the front of the door, maybe a little bit above, but not much. And it'll actually come back quite a bit, so sort of a door and a half, okay? And we'll just leave it there for now. So what we need to do next is go here to our shapes button and make a line. Right, and this line basically is going to start here, so click once in the middle, hold shift and click once in the middle there, and hold shift and just do it right in the middle here. This will be our spline we use to model the crown molding. So now what we need to do, now that we have this line created, is actually create another spline here to act as the molding. Now I actually did a test here just to see, because the alignment of this can be off if you don't model it in the correct viewport. So this actually needs to be modeled in the left-hand viewport for this to work. So it's quite simple. I'll just make another one here for you guys. But pretty much the same as the door, so we're just going to go ahead and follow this one. So just create your points. Okay, and like that. And perfect, just like that. And once you have that, you can simply go here and press 1 and use your fillet tool and just smooth out some of these edges here. Alright, and that looks pretty good. Now you can go ahead here and just fuse and weld some of these, just to make sure that they're fully together. I don't remember all which ones I did, so I'm just going to do them all here. Alright, and one more, I think. And maybe we'll do this corner a little bit here as well. Or something like that. Right, and we can come in here and just adjust these shapes to get your desired look. Make this a Bezier. Okay, come in here, maybe make this one a bit taller. Make this one a bit more defined. Perhaps make this a Bezier as well. Alright, something like that should work pretty nicely. Maybe we'll just bring that up a bit. Perfect, so I'm going to go ahead and delete my old one I had. Alright, and actually I think we can maybe just get rid of that point there. And that's a Bezier corner already, we'll just sort of make it something like that. And that. Okay, so now once we have that line created, let's go ahead here and click on our line, a sweep modifier, use custom selection, and we're going to pick this line here. You'll see immediately we get some result. Which is not right. If we delete the, there we go. So we gotta get rid of the angle here. And we do need to mirror this on, there we go, on the XY axis. Now what we can do is just go ahead and start editing this thing until it matches what we want. So let's go over here, press 1, and let's first start off by editing our line over here. So you can click this show end result on, just so we can continue to see it. And we're just going to go ahead here and just drag this down, actually drag the entire line, I guess, out a bit. Well, the front is subjective, I guess. This is actually the front. So we're going to go ahead on our sweep and unmirror it. Okay, so press your vertex mode here and just drag it to just where it is a little bit above. You want to have a little gap sort of right here. Alright, and let's do the same for our left hand view here, or our front view I should say. So we kind of have an equidistant little area here. Alright, perfect. Now what we want to do is adjust our shape here to get it to sort of match. So you see, as we move this shape, we're actually adjusting the shape of the door frame. And this is where you can really customize it to sort of whatever you want. We're just going to do some kind of little creative shapes here. Alright, maybe bring this one down a bit. Okay. And let's see. I still think it's a bit too big, so we're just going to go ahead and shrink the whole thing like that and bring this in a bit more. Perhaps bring these down a bit. Alright, something like that. What do we got going on over here? Some crazy stuff going on over here. Alright, and we can probably go ahead and just delete that. Make this a Bezier. That'll give us a nice easy transition. And perhaps make that a Bezier as well. Alright, something like that. You see we have kind of a nice little shape there, although it is a bit high. This needs to be much lower, so this has got to go down, way down. And actually, I think we're upside down is the problem. So let's just edit this a bit until we get what we're looking for. That a Bezier as well. Yeah, this is what we're actually looking for. Did make a small mistake. Well, I didn't really make a mistake. I could have probably mirrored it and that would have solved the problem as well. But either way, I think that looks pretty good for now. So we're going to go ahead and, let me see. Maybe it's still a bit too thick. Just shrink it up a bit more. Okay, that'll be good. So now that we have that, let's come here and maximize this viewport. And we can go ahead and convert this to an editable poly. Alright, and go ahead and grab your outermost edges here. Okay, got those, and that should be good. Now what we can do is just drag those out so we kind of get this shape right here. All right, and we're going to drag those so they're just sort of, they give this a bit of thickness. And so grab your entire editable poly and just drag it to where it's sort of inside of your shape. So you see, this is kind of what we have, where the molding sort of goes out a little bit and then it comes right back in. And we can now do a symmetry modifier and press 1 here and W and just drag it out just so where we get the same symmetry on both sides. So something like that. And if it's a bit too short, you can always just move it out. This should be right at the center of the line there. And there, now they'll come together nicely. Alright, so now we've got basically a nice little door frame there. And you could put this on both sides of the door, but it honestly doesn't much matter. Actually, we're going to grab these edges here and maybe drag them back just a bit more, because they should go all the way basically into the wall. Okay, next what we want to do is just get our door here and bring it right to the front. Alright, something like that. Maybe even drag that back just a bit. There we go. Alright, that should do it. And now for this box here, we're just going to go all the edges, Control A, chamfer, we're just going to give it a slight chamfer. Probably about 0.25 centimeters should do it. And then give it a turbo smooth. Well, actually we don't want to give it a turbo smooth. We just want to have it have the chamfers. Alright, so that should be good there. Let's assign this a gray material. Okay. And we'll also assign this a gray material. Perfect. Now all that's really left is to do the doorknob. So let's go to our front view here, and we're going to use this doorknob reference image here just for a quick little knob. So the same process applies here, where we're going to use a reference plane and an image. So just go to your geometry, plane, make a plane, and this is going to be 900 by 900, so it's pretty easy. We can't mess this one up. And just go here. We can just change the bitmap for this one and use the same material there. Okay. And now what we need to do is, let's see, we can do this with we'll do some beveling, because we haven't done beveling yet today. So let's just go ahead and create a big cylinder here. Okay, something like that. Press W, align it right to the sort of side in the middle, and 18 segments is fine there. Just go ahead and increase the radius just till it's about equal, and bring the height way down. Okay, convert that to an editable poly. Alright, go ahead and delete the bottommost polygon there. And we're just going to work on this top polygon and just follow the shape. So we're just going to use the bevel tool. And it's a lot of fun. You just sort of just bevel it up and follow along. Alright. And if you want a hard curve, just kind of do 3 clicks and kind of 1 big click. Alright, bring that in a little bit. A little scaling never hurt anybody. Alright, something like that. And we'll come in just a little bit, up, and back out. So that'll basically make the crease for the door handle there. Okay. So we're doing good. I come here, just follow the curve. Alright, and as you approach any curve, you can always give it just a bit more geometry. Alright, and for the bigger curves, you probably want to have just a bit less geometry so it can smooth itself out just a little bit better. Alright, and maybe one more right here. So that should do it. Now if we apply Turbo Smooth to that, you'll see we have a perfect little door handle here. So go ahead and delete your plane there. Press R, and let's just scale this way down to about the size it should be. Alright, now press E and rotate it 90 degrees here. Alright, now let's just position it. Alright, it should go sort of in the bottom, area of the door, so somewhere right in here. Maybe scale it a bit more. Something just like that. Okay, and now all you do is you align it to where it just sits right inside there. Alright, there we go. And maybe we'll shrink it just a bit more. And bring it up just a tad. Because it can sort of go anywhere on this side. Okay, there we go. So we can go ahead and actually get rid of that piece of geometry there and make this a gray material. Alright, and that should do a pretty good job of modeling our door. For the scene here, we're just going to go ahead and build a box. Okay. Just something like this should do. Alright, and what we need to do now is convert this to an editable poly. Give this 2 connections. Okay, and give it 2 connections this way as well. And grab your center polygons here and bridge them. This will make your hole. Alright, now press F3 real quick. And just center up all of these things with your doors. They should kind of go right in the middle of the door frame there. And this should go right at the top. And this will go sort of at the bottom. And in fact, we can probably just go ahead and delete those polygons there. So if you look at our shape as a whole, that's what we've got. All right. And we probably do want to fill that hole there, so we'll just cap that and cap that to prevent any issues later on. And go ahead and drag it back. Now this should be aligned sort of with the molding a little bit, so sort of right there, just so the molding fits right nicely against the wall. Okay, and now we can just sort of flesh it out. So we'll just drag these up a little bit, drag these out. Okay, make sure our ground plane is sort of a little bit bigger. Right around there, and maybe we'll just drag that out as well. Okay, and then grab the two sides here. We'll just shift drag those up. And there we go. That's not a bad little wall. We'll actually probably just bridge these and bridge these as well. So you can make this wall a variety of ways. And then we'll grab that. And we should be able to cap this. Okay. Now just so we can see in here, go to your object properties, general, and backface cull. That way you can just see everything that's going on. And with this being said, let's set up our camera real quick and then we can move on to the texturing phase. So we'll just use a physical camera here, sort of pointing at our door like that. And let's see how it looks. So we need to do a bit of adjusting. So we'll put the target sort of right there, and then the camera itself will sort of bring up a little bit. Press Shift F, and because our aspect ratio is correct, we shouldn't have a problem there. So something like that. That should work nicely. Alright, let's just give it a test render here to see what it looks like. No, we're actually not going to see anything because there are no lights. So we're just going to go to lights here, V-Ray light. We can just add a light just like this. And we'll bring it up so it actually affects the scene a little bit. And that should be good for now. So let's go ahead and render that out and see what we get. Alright, so we do have some massive overexposure here. So let's go ahead and go to our rendering, exposure control. Let's change this to V-Ray exposure control. And although this goes pretty crazy, if you actually render it out, and let's ensure that we have our global illumination set up, we do. Well, we should get a bit more desirable results. And we do. The only thing you need to do is grab this light and make sure that it is invisible in the options. And you can see right through it, and we'll be pretty happy. Right, now one of the things I did notice here, it looks like our normals on this door are flipped. So let's just grab this, go to normal. Alright, and just hit flip normals, and now if we render it in the correct viewport here, you'll see that our normals are perfect. So with that being said here, let's go on to the texturing portion. We'll just change this to shaded real quick. So we'll just press Shift L to hide the lights and Shift C to hide the camera. And we'll go here and we can delete, actually I'll leave those there for now. They don't really hurt anything. So let's go ahead and make a V-Ray material here. Alright, and this will be the wall material. If you check out any of my other tutorials, my walls are always pretty similar, so these little eggshell colors, off-white. With reflection glossiness of about 0.7 or 0.6. And give it a little bit of this. Okay, maybe even 0.6. And go to your maps here. Go to your bump. Let's add a noise map. We're going to assign this right to the wall. If we click on the noise map and show map in viewport, you'll be able to see the size of the noise. So I believe our noise is way too big, so let's try like 20, and you can see it a little bit. 0.5, it's looking better, but not perfect. So you can actually see it's a bit messed up. So we're going to do a UVW map. We're just going to do a box, and that'll just clean that up. But now maybe 0.2. And maybe make that fractal noise as well. And maybe do 0.1. Maybe 0.05. Alright, that should do it. And blur it, we can give it a blur of maybe 0.5. You don't want it blurred very much. Excellent, so that should do it for the paint there. Next we need to, we'll just copy this one over by shift dragging and delete that. And this will be our door material. So in here, we just need to go into our diffuse, and usually the doors are a bit whiter, so we'll just lighten that right up to an almost perfect white. Okay, and we can go ahead and assign that to the door and to the molding there. Now these things are going to have a bit more of a reflection, and we're going to change this to maybe 0.75, so they're a bit shinier because of the paint they have on them. Also, these are going to have a bump to them, so let's go ahead and open up a Google page here. Let's just type in wood grain. Alright, images. Let's go ahead and just grab one that looks pretty good. Let's see here. I want one with pretty high contrast to it. I guess they should all work. We'll go with this one. So we're going to go ahead and save this image and just go to our project folder here. You can pick any wood grain image you want. Let's go to our references and just type in wood grain. Alright, and now if we go here and we go to the I guess the reflect map, we'll go to standard bitmap. We'll click that wood grain. So you'll see now that we're sort of getting this odd colored reflection. What we also need to do is, let's see, maps, standard. We need to go to I want to say it's an output map, but I'm not positive. Let me double check here. We're going to try the output map and just go ahead and nope, that's the wrong. Okay, what we actually need to do is added a color correction one. So it's, you just click and drag materials standard, or sorry, materials maps standard color correction. And from here we can just go ahead and take all the saturation out of the image and then link that into the reflect slot. Okay, just like that. That'll give us sort of this little tileable sort of reflection thing. We can even go ahead and well, that should be fine for now. Alright, and lastly, let's do the little metal for our handle here. So Vray material. The diffuse will kind of be a darker gray color. Actually, which one are we at? No, we're on the wrong one here. Diffuse will be sort of a darker gray color. The reflect will have quite a bit of that. Alright, for now reflections, we'll put this somewhere at around maybe 9. And then we'll blur this probably 0.8. Maybe a little more, maybe 0.75. 0.75 seems pretty good. And we'll just apply that to the door handle there. Alright, now with these initial settings, let's also go ahead and apply the wall material to the other walls. Alright, just like that. And it can be on the floor too, that's fine for now. So go into your camera here and make sure that this has UVW map as well. A box. And let's go ahead and give it a quick. So you'll see right away we're getting some pretty good results here. But I do think I want to edit it a little bit. So let's go ahead and press Shift L to show our light. And we're going to go ahead and maybe make this a multiplier of 50 just to brighten up the scene a little bit. And let's go ahead and render that image out again. Oops, wrong viewport here. Right, there we go, we're getting a bit better scene here. I also think I want to add a V-Ray sun. So we're going to go ahead and click on this, add another edit poly on top here. We're just going to go ahead and delete the back face right here. Okay, and then we can go ahead and add a V-Ray sun into our left-hand viewport and just kind of put it right there with the V-Ray sky. That should help us with our render a little bit, just giving it a bit more brightness. Okay. And I think I want to go ahead in the V-Ray sun here and just give it perhaps a bit of a blue color right there. Let's see what that does for us. So you see we're sort of lightening up our image there. Just trying to think what we can do here. Alright, let's go to our materials here and maybe just make this color a bit less yellow. Something like that. Re-render. Or that's a little better. And if we delete this light, what do we, oops, what if we delete this light, what do we get? Alright, so not much of a change here. I'm just thinking we're getting a little bit too much color bleed, which would be the case. So we're just going to grab this polygon here and detach it. So just go ahead and click the detach button. And we're just going to assign it a sort of a darker material, just a gray, and see if that helps our scene any. Alright, so it's much better when you have a different color there. So let's go ahead and change this to a bit bigger size here. Let's re-render it out. Okay, so not bad, but we do need to make one adjustment here. You can see there's actually some darkness coming through the door, and that really shouldn't happen. And the reason is because we built the door frame, well, we didn't exactly fully build it. So what needs to happen here, is we'll just get rid of that, is let's go ahead and hit edge, grab these, ring them, connect them twice. Alright, and we're going to slide them a little bit like this. Okay, control click those polygons there and shrink it once. Extrude. And we're going to extrude these along the local normal. And we're just going to basically bring them in just like this. And I know we have a little bit of overlap there, but it's not going to be a huge deal. It's basically just to stop the door from coming in. I guess we can do it. Can we do it as a group? No, it doesn't really like that. But I guess we can try anyway. Just go ahead and adjust it. So there should actually be a little bit of room for your polygons to come in a bit, because this is what the door frames look like in the inside. Okay, and then just go into your vertex mode here. Go in your front view and just go ahead and straighten these guys up. Just like that. Okay, go back into your camera and let's give it a quick re-render again. Alright, well, the black didn't go away. It did diminish pretty significantly, so you could actually just increase the height of your door if you want to get rid of that a little bit. So I think we will actually just do exactly that. Oops, watch out you don't move your camera too much. So just grab these and maybe just drag them up just a little bit. Okay, and if we re-render, let's see if we get some nice results with that door. So let's go ahead and change our render settings here a little bit. So in our V-Ray tab, we're just going to change this minimum rate to about to about 3, and the max rate to about 4. And you'll immediately notice that helps with the details. So if we re-render this again, we'll be able to see that we're getting a lot more detail in here. You can actually see all the different details. But I think we need a bit more shadow in this. So I'm going to cancel this. And we're going to add a V-Ray light. Maybe something like this. And we'll be able to use a, let's go with a disc light. Okay, make sure it's pointing downward. Let's just go ahead and drag this up, kind of like, you know, over ceiling lighting or something like that. Alright, and then let's go ahead and bring our size down again, just so we can do a test render and see if the colors are still good. What I'm looking for is just a bit more shadow in our image here, or at least some different colors and such. So you can again see we're getting that kind of light right above there on the top, which is bringing out those shadows quite a bit there, which is exactly what I'm hoping for. Let's also go ahead and shift drag one of those like that. Press E, and we're going to rotate it a bit, and then bring it down. And shift drag again over here, and simply mirror it. And then let's give it another quick render here. Alright, and you can immediately see we're getting a lot better shadows and such throughout the door. And if you had other materials in here and other objects, you'd be able to see the details much clearer. But I'm going to say that's actually a pretty good job for now. So we're just going to go ahead and change our final render here to 1920 by 1080. And change this to high, change the light cache to 1000. Alright, and let's press the render button and we will let it go. Alright, so here we go. The image is mostly done rendering here. So you can see we have excellent reflections on the doorknob, that kind of soft metal look. We have clean and crisp outlines of all of our panels and such because we changed the anti-aliasing feature. We pretty much have a perfect image here. So this is another tutorial for the photorealistic sort of interior designs that I'm following. If you want to pick this tutorial up, feel free to grab it on Gumroad. There'll be a link in the description. Also, use this in conjunction with the other tutorials that I provided. It will help you greatly with your interior scenes, just making some solid foundations that you can build upon. And lastly, just be sure to check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/eternalblade, for some updates. And I will see you guys next time.